Kong Ballet's The Butterfly Lovers about two soulmates who defy all expectations and the betrayal that seals their fate. The Butterfly Lovers. Tickets at davidhkochtheater.com.
This week on the New Yorker Radio Hour, Ruth Marcus and Jeannie Suk-Gerson answer listener questions about Trump and the courts. Next time on the New Yorker Radio Hour. Tomorrow morning at 10 on WNYC.
Coming up this morning at 10, it's the Brian Lara Show. Brian hosting a conversation about the manosphere and the hold it has on young men and how that's playing out in politics. Coming up in just about 10 minutes, it's the BBC News Hour, so let's check in on what our colleagues in London are working on. Hello, BBC.
Good morning, WNYC. I'm Tim Franks. On today's News Hour, Israel plans a military takeover of Gaza City and French mineral water in crisis. That's BBC News Hour, coming up at 9 on WNYC.
The Marketplace Morning Report is up next here on WNYC. Coming up weather-wise today, sunshine, plenty of it, a high of 81 degrees. We've bumped up to 71 now here in Soho with a clear sky. It's WNYC at 8:51.
What can you throw into an official retirement portfolio? Maybe not the kitchen sink, but soon it could be riskier crypto assets.
Marketplace Morning Report is supported by Schwab. Schwab offers investors choices like full-service wealth management, self-directed investing options, and trading on Thinkorswim. More at schwab.com.
Tax-protected retirement savings could soon allow riskier assets to be included in the portfolio, such as cryptocurrency accounts or private equity investments in a 401k or 403b. The gears for this were set in motion by presidential order yesterday, Marketplace's Henry Epp reports.
Managers of employer-sponsored retirement plans legally have to act in the best interest of employees. That's largely kept them from venturing into riskier investments like crypto. And just a few years ago, the Biden administration warned fiduciaries to, quote, exercise extreme care around cryptocurrency. The Trump administration nixed that guidance earlier this year. Now Trump is directing the Labor Department to clarify its stance on alternative investments, including crypto, private equity, commodities, and real estate. The move could be a boon for those industries, opening an avenue to the trillions of dollars held in employee retirement accounts. Changes won't happen immediately. The executive order gives federal agencies over 5 months to review current rules around alternative investments and suggest new ones. I'm Henry App for Marketplace.
The Nasdaq stock index closed at a record high yesterday, up 10% year to date. This morning, Nasdaq futures are up 0.1%. Yesterday, the Dow closed down 0.5%. Dow futures are up 0.1% this morning. The price of gold surged to a new all-time high early this morning, $3,400, but then things calmed down. This after the Trump administration blindsided gold market players by applying tariffs to 100-ounce and 1-kilo gold bars. The pros did not see that coming. The CEO of generic drug maker Sandoz, based in Basel, says the Trump administration's import taxes, 39% for Switzerland, will not be enough to bring manufacturing of medicines back to U.S. soil. Leanna Byrne, Marketplace BBC, has more.
President Trump may want more pharmaceuticals made in America, but one of the world's biggest generic companies says that's not happening anytime soon. Sandoz essentially copies drugs where the patent has expired. It doesn't have a massive presence in the US, and the CEO, Richard Saynor, told the BBC tariffs alone won't convince the company to build factories there.
It's not a cheap thing to do. Hundreds of millions or billions of dollars. It's not a quick thing to do. It can be frequently 3 to 5 years. Our conversations with the administration, with Congress, is, okay, how are you going to change the environment to make what is in theory an incredibly exciting market much more attractive?
Of course, the US saw firsthand during the pandemic how relying on overseas suppliers can lead to shortages in vaccines. But for now, Sandoz is staying offshore despite Washington's pressure to bring production home. I'm the BBC's Leanna Byrne for Marketplace.
Marketplace Morning Report is supported by Viking, exploring the world in comfort. With a fleet of small ships, Viking offers travel experiences for the thinking person. Discover more at Viking.com.
This week, we've been catching up with a building contractor in Portland, Oregon, who does commercial and residential products to take his economic pulse. Maurice Rahming is the president of O'Neill Construction Group. Thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me, David. I appreciate it.
When you're estimating jobs right now, how are you thinking about tariffs?
Well, so one of the things that we're thinking about, right, our three biggest trade partners are Mexico, China, and Canada. And so as we look at products that we're trying to select for our customers, we have to think about how that's going to impact their budgets, their bottom lines. So it's hugely challenging.
Yeah, like if you're buying a bunch of lighting fixtures for a commercial property, right? You got to know what the added import tax is going to be.
Yeah, and it's one of the things that we're finding is that we're having to kind of give our customers responses that makes it harder for them to budget, where we feel like, okay, there's not an effect yet, but it seems like it's hard to predict what happens today. Is that going to be consistent over the next 3 weeks, 3 months, 3 years?
Oh, so you give people like a range? You're saying, look, if it was today, it would be this, but we have to put a fudge factor in?
You got it. Exactly. So we don't like to surprise any project with costs that they could not anticipate. So we do try to let them know that, hey, look, some of these areas are unknown.
For stuff like what? I mean, I suppose drywall from Mexico?
Yeah, copper, steel, commodities. Yeah, I kind of feel like a little bit of a mini commodities broker as I look at to see where copper prices. I know over the last while now we've been kind of monitoring that because there's so much copper wire.
Let's talk about interest rates. People borrow to build things, both commercial and residential. The average 30-year fixed-rate home loan has been in the range of 6.5% to just over 7% since last fall. That seems moderately high to many people. That must play out as people do the math on whether or not they can build with you.
Yeah, and so on the residential side, it's extremely sluggish. What we've seen in the past is when the residential and the commercial markets on the private side are sluggish, it's kind of a seesaw effect where there would be more public works projects occurring. Because of the uncertainty with the public sector, what we're seeing is just a huge amount of volatility in our industry.
So, Maurice, you're saying there's so many question marks out there that it makes it harder for, people building a new house for themselves or a commercial project for them to give you the green light. They're just not quite sure if they can afford.
Exactly. And one of the things is that we usually use data to base all our decisions, right? Because there are so many different variations, there's a lot more risk built into what we do. There's so many different unknowns.
Maurice Rahming is the president of O'Neill Construction Group in Portland, Oregon. Mr. Rahming, thank you for this.
Thank you, David, for having me.
And a follow-up on our discussion yesterday on the pervasiveness of financial scams involving all our electronic devices. New data on targeting older adults from the Federal Trade Commission. Fraudsters target all ages, but one piece of this new analysis finds people over 60 who lost $100,000 or more. That number up 8-fold between 2020 and 2024. In Los Angeles, I'm David Brancaccio. You're listening to the Marketplace Morning Report. From APM, American Public Media.